Now, this is an article. I've mentioned many statements from the big foundations themselves that come up with the whole idea for the con of global warming and climate change and carbon and all the rest of it. And this article was actually, I think, printed in Forbes magazine back in 2013, where it first appeared. But it says global warming was never about climate change. Climate change policy is about how we redistribute de facto the world's wealth. IPCC official Ottman Edenhofer. That's what he said. That's the facts of it, folks. For the far left, that's what they're told to believe in. But for the boys that run the far left, they know it's about really managing the whole planet and plundering it too. And they have no intention of helping anybody except themselves. And it says President Obama has put salvation from dreaded climate catastrophes on his action agenda, hot list, etc., etc. And it says that sort of scary presidential prognostication isn't new, meaning that, you got to give up all your rights and freedoms to save the world, yeah. He previously emphasized at the Democratic National Convention that global warming was not a hoax, referred to recent droughts and floods as a threat to children's future, and pledged to make the climate a second-term priority. As much as I hate to nitpick his doomsday scenarios, it might be appropriate to correct a few general misconceptions before getting back to that overwhelming judgment of science stuff. Regarding wildfires, for example, the numbers since 1950 have decreased globally by 15%. According to the National Academy of Science, they will likely continue to decline until around mid-century. As for those droughts, a recent study published in the letter of the journal Nature indicates that globally there's been little change in drought over the past 60 years. And as the UN Climate Panel concluded last year, some regions of the world have experienced more intense and longer droughts, in particular in southern Europe and West Africa, but in some regions droughts have become less frequent, less intense or shorter, for example in central North America and northwestern Australia. Remember, it's only now, because this is the agenda, that they keep telling you about these things when anything happens, even minor things, to make it seem that it's catastrophic in nature. But we've always had these things happen. And it's talking too about global hurricane activity, measuring total energy, accumulated cyclone energy, they call it, is actually at a low not encountered since the 1970s. You can also get the link towards that as well. In fact, the US has currently experienced the longest absence, this when this was written, of severe landfall hurricanes in over a century. But supposing these recent circumstances were different, because after all, climate really does change. Of course it changes all the time. Then they go into who said what to do with it all. Now listen, Maurice Strong, who was the front man for the Rockefeller Foundation, the big world agenda, he's picked up and trained for it. It says here, remarks offered by Maurice Strong, who organized the first United Nations Earth Climate Summit in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, revealed the real goal. He says, we may get to the point where the only way of saving the world will be for industrialized civilizations to collapse. Remember, again, too, it was part of the Club of Rome that came up with the idea, and they said, too, that limits to growth was the end of all industry, etc., etc. And Maurice Strong added, isn't it a responsibility to bring this about? This is the guy who had all the countries sign on to this. It tells you all about your leaders, doesn't it? Former U.S. Senator Timothy Wirth, then representing the Clinton-Gore administration and U.S. Undersecretary of State for Global Issues, addressing the same Rio Climate Summit audience, agreed. He says, we've got to ride the global warming issue. But to ride it, really push it to the maximum, in other words. Even if the theory of global warming is wrong, we will be doing the right thing in terms of economic policy and environmental policy. He now heads the United Nations Foundation, which lobbies for hundreds of billions of US taxpayer dollars to help underdeveloped countries fight climate change. It doesn't get to the people, remember. Everybody has a good payoff that's associated with all this thing. And then you have the same thing, Deputy Assistant of State Richard Benedict, whoever that is, never heard of him, who then headed the policy divisions of the US State Department. He says global warming treaty Kyoto must be implemented even if there is no scientific evidence to back the enhanced greenhouse effect. In 1988, former Canadian Minister of the Environment Christine Stewart told editors and reporters of the Calgary Herald, no matter if the science of global warming is all phony, climate change provides the greatest opportunity to bring about justice and equality in the world. Again, the redistribution of your wealth. In 1996, former Soviet Union President Mikhail Gorbachev, who was brought over to the US and given the Presidio as his base for his big charitable organization of Sovietized brainwashing, basically, into the same agenda. He emphasized the importance of using climate alarmism to advance socialist Marxist objectives. It says the threat of an environmental crisis will be the international disaster key to unlock the new world order. This is his words, not mine. And then speaking at the United Nations Conference on Climate Change in The Hague in 2000, former President Jacques Chirac of France explained why the IPCC's climate initiative supported a key Western European Kyoto Protocol objective. For the first time, humanity is instituting a genuine instrument of global governance, one that should find a place within the World Environmental Organization, which France and the European Union would like to see established. In other words, it's for completely different reasons than the ones that tell the general public. And God help you if you say so and point it out, because they're becoming completely intolerant since everything is riding on this big phony agenda.